Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the TRBusiness Adapt and Survive Skype video series. Today we're joined by Jan Blanchard, Chief Commercial Officer, Retail inMotion. Hi Jan.
Hi Andrew.
It's really great to speak to you. I think this could be the first time we've met per se completely. So it's really great to finally touch base.
Yes, same here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'll kick things off by asking, how has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted you personally and in terms of the company as a whole?
Well, personally, it's all good. I live in Texas with my family for a little over 3 years. So we're far from family, but we've all been safe. So that's good. It's a different time. My daughters are doing Zoom schooling. And we've gone camping for a week during the summer, so that was nice. And I can see the airport, DFW airport, from my windows from far. So every night I find myself counting the airplanes flying and hoping to see more.
Yeah, we've all probably picked up a lot of unique habits during this period. How have you worked with your various airline partners during the pandemic, and what have been the main focuses while flights have been like at a virtual standstill?
So, I mean, there's a couple of initiatives we took as a company during this pandemic. And first, internally, we reacted early, and we had 3 plans. So we did a forecast, low, medium, and high. And that really allowed us to take decision as early as March, April, so that we can get through the storm. And at the same time, we decided to put a focus on our product internally, get our product better. So a lot of projects that's transformation, migration, we were able to focus on these and just get those products accelerated. Then from working with our airline clients, we also very early, when we were still dealing with the crisis, put together a document that we called Full on Demand, and we distributed this document to our clients across the world, and that triggered a number of meetings and initiatives. How can we support these airlines as they're going to think about the restart to increase their revenue, reduce their cost, increase transparency in the product to have the confidence of the passenger as they're going to fly again.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about maybe how you've helped the airlines restart their activity from operational, product, and service standpoints? I know you touched a little bit on like work around the product during the standstill. Perhaps you can elaborate just a little bit more on some of those elements.
For sure. I mean, very concretely, there were 4 initiatives that were really important for the airline when they were restarting that we could help them with, especially the airline that were using the Retail inMotion technology. And that was any initiative that minimized the interaction between the crew and the passenger. So we had cashless. A lot of airlines, needed to go cashless. Even some airlines were doing 70% cash, 30% credit card. They all went cashless, so to support that. Digital menu to not have the printed card, contactless in order to just tap and pay or pay with your Apple Pay, Android Pay. And then finally, pre-order was also pre-order your food before the flight and pay for it before the flight, so that's only the delivery happens when you're flying. So this was concrete initiative we took with some of the airlines that we started in the summer, Ryanair, TUI, etc.
So it seems like, as I say, it's about being proactive, regular communication, and just trying to mobilize everyone for the recovery in the best way possible, I assume.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And it's not easy because there are different phases when we go through a crisis. And obviously at first it's the emergency. So each airline were dealing with things that were very important to them, and they were not. There's a time for everything, and so from us, Retail inMotion, we want to be a good partner and find the right time to support these airlines.
And just one additional question: can you prepare for such a crisis? Can you have a plan in place for something like as serious as COVID-19, or is it just a case of like trying to adapt as quickly as you can when this happens, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for anyone who's running companies, we try to prepare for everything, but I don't think that you could prepare for something like this. So it is about anticipating. For Retail inMotion, especially in technology, we were fortunate that we could see that technology is an enabler for airlines to be able also to get through some of the challenges that the crisis bring. So I think for us it was accelerating, like a lot of projects we were working on, pre-order, contactless, digital payment. We were just able to accelerate those projects, and they were more relevant. But yes, I think you can only prepare as much, but you cannot be ready for everything.
And how do you expect the new normal to look from an in-flight retail perspective, and why? What will be the main trends and why? Because there's going to be some change. It's going to be, in my view, people may say otherwise, but it is going to be a new world, I think, post-COVID-19.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And I think that some of the change, first, buy on board is something that we provide at Retail inMotion. I think airlines will adapt some form of buy on board. And we'll look at transitioning a program, especially if it's all complementary, to some form of buy on board, because not only it's good in terms of reducing costs or increasing revenue, but it's also enabling passenger to choose. And I think that's the second trend, is empowering passenger to choose and pre-order. So I do think that in the medium term, probably long-haul flights, meals, for example, will be pre-ordered, because how long time can we go with just chicken and pasta in a world where everything will, you know, that enabling passenger and enabling them to choose will be so important as they return flying. And then finally, digital operation. I mean, I'm still amazed sometimes to see how many opportunity there is to bring efficiency in the whole value chain, operation, product, in bringing more of a single digital platform. So I think those three trends we'll see as more relevant.
And you've actually touched on certain elements of my next question, i.e. technology and digital. Can you just explain to us a little bit how Retail inMotion has embraced technology to help mitigate against the impact of COVID-19, and how much emphasis is actually being placed on pre-order, order to seat, contactless payment, and digital in-flight receipts, and why?
Yes, I mean, all of those that you've, after naming, they're very important. They were actually before COVID, there was already a point of focus for Retail inMotion, because we started with digitize the product journey, packing, logistics, and then we went on the crew and the point of sale. But we always felt that at some point it's in the hand of the passenger, and it's about the passenger being able to order and digital payment and really that simplicity of use and choice. So I think order to seat, pre-order, connected travel, so that you can order at any time. It's something that we're focusing on, and probably one of the aspect of it that is less seen by the passenger is what's happening behind the scenes. So it's all good to have a great application, or allowing the airline application to allow the passenger to pre-order, but how do you integrate with the catering units, with the booking engines, and all of this, so that the product comes and be delivered at the right time, and that you can take into account anything that could go wrong in that journey. So I think that's key for us, is integration with all of the stakeholders that are part of the value chain of the travel journey.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, it's all been well having these advanced technological initiatives, but execution is important, because if they're not executed properly, then they could end up having an extremely adverse effect, I guess, on business. Fine. Just on technology in general, how big big a role do you expect technology to play in the future? I mean, I know you said that for Retail inMotion, you were embracing this before COVID-19, but do you expect in the future that like more and more like concessionaires like yourself to like push the boundaries of innovation when it comes to technology?
Yes, I do, and I mean, one of the reasons is that I do think that what we become used to, especially in the time of COVID-19, we've seen just outside of the aircraft and the travel industry how much technology has changed so much by remote working and remote learning as well in school and everything else. So I think there's an opportunity in the airline industry to have more personalized offer. And I think technology will play a key role in this as airline understand who's flying in the aircraft, and to be able to have a single view of the passenger for that airline, customize their offering to make it relevant to each passenger. Initiatives such as a common passenger portal, I think will be key. And then the connected travel journey, I think you've mentioned about in-flight, but how do you connect in-flight with the airport offering and other touch point in the travel journey? And I think that's what technology can do and enable, the airline, but also ultimately the passenger to have a better experience.
You've raised a number of key and important issues, which will be extremely significant in the post-COVID-19 era. But I just wanted to ask, what's your overall vision for the in-flight retail sector with duty-free and travel retail in mind? And what will be some of the major challenges? I mean, we talked about one with the execution of technology to do it maybe correctly and as well as the integration. But what will be some of the major challenges moving forward?
Yes, I think, some of the major changes is this that will be driven by passenger, especially in a world where you have maybe fewer passengers. I mean, you need to make it count as an airline. And so enabling those passengers to have a truly as connected experience, to be able to choice, to be able to, and also the opportunity that makes retail relevant, in-flight is still going to be attractive, in my view, in the future, as airline have knowledge of their passenger, and it's this idea that we have a captive audience and we have passenger in demand of different products and services that are relevant to them at this time of their travel journey, is an attractive proposition. It was attractive before, and it's going to be more attractive in the future, as long as we make sure that there is a digital offering that allows the airline to anticipate those demand from the passenger.
So taking everything into account, do you believe passengers will return to purchasing before and during flights once they are confident enough to fly again, and why?
Yes, I think as you're flying and the demand for relevant services when you're flying is going to be, even probably the opportunity is going to be more present in the future, because I'm going to demand more from an airline than what I used to get before. I'm going to demand transparency. I'm going to demand the ability to choose. So I think we're going to see a demanding passenger who want to make sure that the offering is, of course, safe, but also is relevant to their travel journey. And so yes, I think, in-flight, retail, onboard, connected travel, digital experience, all of this will be more and more relevant.
And that's it. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today. I really hope we can meet somewhere in person sometime soon when this horrific crisis is over.
Yes, so do I.
Thanks again for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.